Notably, a surveillance camera in the building captured the image of a young man entering the elevator in a hurry, carrying bulky bags. The image was blurry, but enough to give investigators an initial lead. Another remarkable clue was a pair of blood-stained sneakers found near the scene. Forensic tests confirmed the blood matched the victim's DNA. This confirmed that the killer had direct contact and may have lost control during the crime. In addition, witness statements also played an important role. Several residents of the building testified that they saw a young man accompanied by a woman on the day the victim went missing. Afterward, they only saw the man leaving alone, looking rushed, his eyes darting as if afraid of being followed.
After compiling the initial data, the Hanoi police narrowed down the suspects. One name immediately stood out: Michael Tran, the victim's ex-boyfriend who had had many conflicts with her. When contacting Emily Tran's family and friends, many confirmed that Emily Tran had told them Michael Tran was quite jealous and strongly possessive, even though the two had already broken up. More suspicious was the fact that Michael Tran disappeared right after Emily Tran went missing. His phone was switched off, and no one knew where he was. In the eyes of the investigators, this was a clear sign. He was highly likely directly related to the case. Investigators began tracing Michael Tran's movements before the murder. Through surveillance footage from the building, they discovered his image walking with Emily Tran. This detail further strengthened the hypothesis. Michael Tran was the last person with the victim before she disappeared. This was an extremely serious case, shocking public opinion, so not only the Hanoi police, but also the Ministry of Public Security closely supervised it. Special task forces were established, coordinating closely between criminal police, forensic experts, and the Fugitive Tracking Department. A series of professional measures were deployed, reviewing relationships, tracking bank transactions, checking his travel itinerary. Even detectives contacted bus stations, train stations, and taxi companies to find clues about Michael Tran's escape. Every small detail was carefully considered, because just one mistake and the killer could flee far away.
An unexpected piece of information appeared. Through checking his old contacts, police discovered that Michael Tran might be hiding in his hometown in Quang Ninh. Michael Tran's family had lived there, and he had many acquaintances. The possibility that the suspect sought familiar ground to hide was assessed as very high. Immediately, a team of detectives was dispatched to Quang Ninh. Surveillance measures were carried out in secret, monitoring the houses of Michael Tran's relatives, checking hotels and guest houses, and even internet cafes, places where many fugitives often try to contact others or follow the news. Meanwhile, in Hanoi, forensic officers continued analyzing evidence collected at the scene. The test results increasingly confirmed the hypothesis that Michael Tran was the killer. DNA, fingerprints, and even a strand of hair found on bloodied clothing all matched his biological samples. Those days, not only were the police working under immense strain, but society also anxiously followed every development. Newspapers continuously updated the latest news, while social networks began spreading rumors that the suspect had escaped abroad. Many people expressed concern. If the killer was still free, who could guarantee society's safety? Inside the investigative agency, the pressure was no less. This was not only a criminal case, but also a race against public opinion. Any delay could shake the trust of the people. Therefore, every step had to be quick but absolutely precise. From surveillance cameras, the building guard's testimony, to unexplained fingerprints, investigators quickly narrowed down the suspect. The name Michael Tran gradually emerged as an important piece of the whole puzzle. However, Michael Tran was no longer in Hanoi. In the following days, through monitoring and collecting witness statements, police discovered he had traveled to Quang Ninh, his hometown. Detectives immediately set out, coordinating with local police to expand the search. The investigative team assessed Michael Tran was panicked but still trying to conceal his crime. He might seek familiar places, old friends, relatives, or even temporary hideouts. Therefore, detectives expanded surveillance of all of Michael Tran's connections in Quang Ninh. The investigation required close coordination among many units, from Hanoi Police, where the case began, to Quang Ninh Police, where the suspect was most likely hiding, and even the professional departments of the Ministry of Public Security. On one hand, investigators in Hanoi continued exploiting the scene, consolidating evidence. On the other, forces in Quang Ninh urgently tracked Michael Tran's whereabouts. Every small piece of information was reported back to the task force for analysis, connecting into the overall picture. Tense hours of work followed one after another. In closed meeting rooms, Michael Tran's movements were drawn on whiteboards with specific timelines and locations. Experienced officers could not hide their concern. A young intellectual, a student, how could he fall into such a brutal crime?
Every question, every hypothesis was raised and dissected until finally a plan to surround and arrest him was put into motion. Hanoi, early May 2010. After nearly a week of tension, clues gathered from the crime scene and witness testimony gradually narrowed down the prime suspect, Michael Tran. His name was quickly placed on investigators' desks, accompanied by his personal profile, once a student with a calm appearance but tied to a complicated romantic relationship with the victim. Detectives of the Criminal Police Department, in coordination with Hanoi Police, immediately launched the arrest plan. Intelligence indicated that Michael Tran no longer appeared in Hanoi. Phone traces and personal relationships pointed him to hiding in Quang Ninh, his hometown. A manhunt was urgently launched. At noon on May 18, 2010, in a quiet residential area in Halong, a police vehicle stopped. Plainclothes detectives stepped out, quickly surrounding the house where Michael Tran was hiding. Inside, Michael Tran thought he had temporarily escaped the law. He stayed at an acquaintance's house, kept a low profile, limited contact with the outside world. But all calculations quickly collapsed. When the door burst open, the stares of police officers swept across the room. Michael Tran was shocked to realize he had no way out. According to an investigator's account, that moment was very brief. Michael Tran did not resist, did not cry out. His face turned pale, his eyes vacant, then gradually lowered in heavy silence. A pair of cold handcuffs quickly locked the hands that once held the knife to commit the horrifying crime. When escorted to Quang Ninh Police Headquarters for initial procedures, Michael Tran appeared drained. He sat hunched, spoke little, sometimes only answering basic questions in a hoarse voice. When directly asked by investigators, "Why did you kill Emily Tran?" Michael Tran was silent for a few seconds, then softly said, "Because of conflict," At that moment, I couldn't control myself.
The arrest of Michael Tran not only marked the success of the task force, but also brought a sigh of relief to public opinion. The media immediately published breaking news. The apartment building murderer has fallen into the net of the law. After many days of living in fear and anxiety, the people finally had an answer to the rumors and their obsession with a killer roaming free in society. At the investigation agency, initially, Michael Tran was evasive, deliberately avoiding direct questions. But before overwhelming evidence, fingerprints at the scene, security camera footage, and cross-examined witness statements, he was forced to bow his head. Michael Tran confessed. On May 4, 2010, he arranged to meet his ex-girlfriend, Emily Tran, at the apartment of his new girlfriend in Kaozai. His initial purpose was only to talk, to resolve issues in their old relationship. But as words escalated, conflicts broke out. Emily Tran scolded him, demanded her laptop and some belongings back. Michael Tran felt insulted. His anger and selfishness caused him to lose control. He admitted to using a knife in the apartment to attack the victim. When he saw Emily Tran collapse, instead of stopping, Michael Tran continued his barbaric actions. Afraid of being exposed, he conceived the idea of disposing of the body.
Expert analysis. According to analysis published by Dan Tree and VN Express, Michael Tran was not a born criminal. He was once a smart student with a future, but selfishness, extreme possessiveness, and lack of emotional control turned him into a brutal killer. Criminal psychology experts said, in an instant, accumulated personal conflicts combined with the fear of losing face, of having his romantic secrets exposed, made Michael Tran choose violence. He was no longer rational. The arrest and detailed confession helped police close the investigation process, but at the same time it raised painful questions for society. Why did an educated man with family expectations slip so far as to commit an unforgivable crime? Was this tragedy a warning about distorted relationships, about the lack of emotional management skills among part of the youth? The investigation closed. Michael Tran, once a student, once a young intellectual, had become a cold-blooded murderer. His crime not only took a life, left pain for a family, but also sowed fear in society. He thought he could conceal the truth with cunning tricks, but before justice, every calculation became meaningless.